Hey guys, this is not a butterfly net. No man, look, we are way out of the box and we are going to be cooking and eating cicadas. But before I do that, I've got to run a couple recipes through. I got to prepare these things, and that takes a few steps. So we're going to take advantage of the 17-year cicada hatch that's happening right here in central PA, and I'm going to show you folks how to prepare cicadas in order to eat them. Stay with me, man. This is gonna be a ton of cool bug fun. For the last 2.5 weeks, I've been going out relentlessly running videotape and getting all kinds of cool footage about these cicadas as they're coming out. The brood 10 cicadas are a huge deal. Every 17 years this happens. So take advantage of this. And in the process, we're gonna be eating some of these, kind of cool stuff. So look, we're gonna blanch these things first. Let me show you what they look like. These are cicadas that were collected in the field, okay? They're just in bags. I've kept them frozen. One of these bags has been frozen for about a day and a half. This other bag has been frozen for probably about 7 or 8 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna blanch these, which means we're just gonna boil them for about 4 or 5 minutes. We're gonna keep it real simple. I don't want to do it too much because it turns them mushy, and I have to do it a little bit because it softens things up. I'm also going to be real picky about going through these things. I want to make sure that I get the softest and the freshest nymphs that I can find. A lot of these things, you know, I picked them as they were coming almost out of the ground. They were literally crawling to the tree when I found a lot of these. Some of these other ones, I found them as they were going, you know, up the first couple inches of the tree. So I know they were real fresh. They hadn't had time to really start hardening up at all. They should be good. I also picked up a couple adults. I'm gonna grill those as well at some point. So I'm gonna show you, grilled cicadas are amazing. They taste like popcorn. So that's another cookout. We'll do that maybe on another part. We're not gonna get that done today. So let's work on blanching cicadas. Okay, so like I said before, we're gonna get a little picky about these. We'll make sure everything thaws out good. They weren't frozen that long, but they were frozen. So I just want to make sure things are ready. And they feel like it. They feel like they're probably softened up a little bit. That's good. I'm gonna throw down some towels. And then we're going to crack one of these bags open. We're gonna pour some cicadas out. See what we get. All right, we don't need a lot, but we do need cicadas. Okay, so let's talk about one other important thing before we get really into the nuts and bolts here. All right, let's call this the disclaimer. First and foremost, if you have a shellfish allergy, do not eat cicadas. That's just the best advice I got for you. There's a real good chance if you're allergic to shellfish, you're gonna have a very similar reaction if you eat insects, especially cicadas. So understand that now. I wanna make sure the disclaimer's out there so everybody understands. Don't eat insects if you have a shellfish allergy. So what I've done so far is I've already pulled all of the subadult and adult cicadas, put them back in the bag. So that cleared this off a bunch. What I'm left with are a bunch of small, medium, large nymphs. There's probably 2 different species going on here with the brood 10, at least with these nymphs. At the same time, there are some here that I definitely am going to take a close look at and probably not use, only because I can tell some of these are pretty advanced. Notice the wings on this nymph. So this is probably a little further along than I'm looking for these skewers. I like the size of this one. It's a nice big meaty, big female. I like the size of that for the skewers, but probably not going to use that one because I'm looking for something a little smaller, a little less developed in regards to the actual cicada itself. That's not too bad right there. That's not a bad one. So that's one we'll probably take with us. It's going to have the wings regardless. As soon as you pull them and freeze them, those wings kind of turn yellow. So they're all going to look a little yellow. Here's another good one. It's a small one, but I guarantee you that's going to be a good fresh one for for the skewers. So we can make this happen. I just need to take my time, go through here, and get rid of anything that I definitely don't want to use on these skewers. So here's how it looks. I've got, bags are emptied, although I got one bag with nothing but adults. So those we save for later, because those are going to get grilled. They're going to be awesome. I have two separate piles here. I have a pile that are obviously soft, pliable. These are young, fresh nymphs. These are a little slightly older nymphs, so these we're going to save. Probably use these in some alternate recipes that I'm going to try. I've got some bean and rice enchiladas. I'm going to put those in. I'm also going to grill some of those straight up. I'll chocolate cover some of those. So those are going to get used to an extent, but not a whole lot. We're going to focus mostly on this group right here. This shoot we're doing tomorrow is for the radio station, and I don't expect there's going to be a whole lot of people standing in line to try these things until maybe Dennis Mitchell tries one or two and decides they're not so bad after all. And when people realize he actually survived, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably step up and maybe try a cicada or two. We'll see how that goes. Either way, we still got to blanch them. We're going to blanch all of them. I'm going to do them in two separate groups so that I can keep these separate for tomorrow's shoot. And then we're going to start working recipes. Stay with me, guys. So I'm working a couple recipes here. And the first one is we're going to be doing some cicada veggie skewers. I'm also going to do some chocolate covered cicadas. But in order to make all this stuff happen, I've also got to blanch the cicadas first. First thing we need to do, we need to boil some water. Once we get this boiling, we're going to put the cicada nymphs in. We're going to blanch them for 4 or 5 minutes. No more than that. I don't want to overcook these things. I don't want to make them mushy. All we're trying to do is we're trying to harden them up a little bit, make them a little more meaty. All right, so I got them starting to blanch. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. Keep that water moving, and I'm going to gently agitate these things so that they evenly blanch out. So far, so good. Weirdly enough, that smells pretty good. I think most people would start to wonder what really is going on here. That smell, yeah, that smell coming off those things, that's not a bad smell at all. It smells very organic. Okay, now, another reason we're blanching, and this is probably very important to point this out. There may be soil contaminants on these things. There, I'm sure, are bacteria and fungi and all kinds of things going on in the earth. So we're also going to, by blanching them, not only do we sort of strengthen them up and make them a little more meaty, but we're also going to turn around and we're going to sort of sterilize them a little bit better and make them a little safer, I think, if you're just going to eat them. Granted, I have eaten a lot of insects raw all over the world, but when I'm able, when I actually have a choice, I very much prefer insects cooked, either over a flame or somehow roasted or boiled. I've eaten bugs and insects all over the world, a lot of different ways. So we're going to let these things go about another minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. They look like they're doing good. I don't see anybody breaking apart at this point, and that's also good. I don't want to boil these things and create a soup out of them. Blanching cicadas. All right, one last half a minute or so on these, and then we're going to pull them. Turn the heat down on them so I'm not over boiling them to the point where they're going to break apart. We're going to rinse. And that is a good start. Now, while we're blanching the cicadas over here, we're going to prep our veggies for our skewers. I've got some squash, I got some tomatoes, and I got some apples. Weirdly enough, I love cooking with apple slices and apple wedges. I like to add that in with veggies. I think it adds another little twist to the flavor, and it certainly doesn't hurt it. It actually sweetens it up in most cases. We're going to do that too. I cook apples into a lot of my venison dishes when I'm cooking deer meat. All right, so let's cut these up. So we go to freshly blanched cicadas, pre-cut veggies, a little bit of apple. I'll probably cut some of these wedges down a little bit, make them a little more presentable. Then from there, now we got to do build our skewers. Okay, just to catch you up, skewers are done. And now I've got leftover squash and I've got some leftover tomato slices, and I'm going to keep this stuff, and what I'm going to eventually do is I'm going to saute the squash with some of these tomatoes as well as some more cicada nymphs. So we're going to do sauteed squash and cicada, throw in a little bit of tomato just for kicks of it, and that is also going to become awesome. So what's happening now? I've got my second batch of water boiling here. That's going to bring in the second batch of cicadas to blanch. While that's happening, I'm going to start setting up our chocolate covered. I'm going to use a small saucepan. I'm going to melt down some dark chocolate, because you know what? If you're going to do chocolate, you might as well do dark chocolate, right? We're going to melt down some dark chocolate chips. So we're going to be melting down the chocolate. We're then going to pour the chocolate into the baking cups that are going to have a cicada. While these things are still warm and the chocolate is still sticky, then I can also sprinkle on some walnut chips. Now, not everybody can do nuts or even walnuts, so some are going to have walnuts and some won't. Either way, they're going to end up being chocolate covered cicadas with walnuts. Awesome. I got my water boiling. We're going to put the next batch of cicadas in. Again, I want to back that water down, take it to a nice gentle boil, and take the rest of these cicadas and we're going to put them in. Okay, so the next phase, I'm going to melt some dark chocolate in this cool little saucepan. I'm going to keep agitating this, try and melt it as smooth as we can get it. Just about done. I want to be careful because I don't want to burn this. We're going to put chocolate over top these cicadas. Awesome. And now we're going to come in and we're going to put some walnut chips over the top of some of these. Now, again, not everybody likes, walnuts or nuts in general. There are some nut allergies out there you got to keep in mind, so I'm not going to do that to all of these. But that is what we're looking at, man. Nice. Cicada veggie skewers. Now look, if you want to fine tune these things a little bit, you can do a couple things. You can splash a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on them. You can then salt them. You can season them. You can put whatever you like on them. If you like Old Bay, this is a great recipe to use with Old Bay. Sprinkle a little Old Bay on them. Fantastic. If you're the kind of person that likes to put a little bit of heat on things, you can use like a Louisiana rub, some sort of Cajun, any of that type of stuff. Again, I am not a spicy food kind of person, so I'm not going to go spicy. I don't want to change the flavor of things too much. I'm not real big on it. I like to eat food pretty well straight up without getting too crazy about it. You could even go as far as bacon seasoning. I have never had cicadas with bacon seasoning, but I have had bacon wrapped cicadas, and they are also amazing. Again, folks, whatever your preference is, whatever kind of foods you like to eat, you can do that. Me, I think I'm just going to stick with some Himalayan sea salt and a little bit of onion powder. I think those two things are going to go amazing on here. Of course, I'm still going to drizzle a little bit of the olive oil over that just to make sure that stuff sticks to the skewers. Grilled, these things are going to be amazing. So I got the chocolate covered cicadas ready to go. I'm going to bring the skewers over here and I'm going to lay them down in here as well. And so how awesome is that? Ha! We are cooking cicadas, baby. Stay with me. That'll be fun.